Welcome to another video. This video today is about being able to hem your trousers, because I don't know if you're like me, I'm only 5'2", I'm only dinky, and every time I get a new pair of jeans they need taking up, so I thought I would share it with you. I know there's lots of different ways to be able to take up a pair of jeans, but this is one way that I always think looks nice and professional, and I've done it for several years with all my clients. So let's get into the video. Got a pair of men's jeans here, and they need the hems shortening. So the first thing that I've done is I spoke to my client who needed the jeans taken up, and we had a discussion about the length that we were going to shorten both the pair of jeans. Measure the amount that needs reducing. So I'm going to measure 5.5 centimeters, and I'm going to pin around the circumference of the jeans. Measure. Make sure the seam's open when you pin, because that way it'll lay nice and flat and there'll be no bulk, and you don't want bulk. When you pin them, go back around and just check that you're happy with all your measurements. So for us to work things out, I've got an offcut of a pair of jeans here. It's just a small section. So this will be the front of the jeans, and you can see where the actual stitching would have been. There's still a bit of the stitching left. And if I turn it to the back, you can see the fold up where the jeans would have been folded up, and this is the visible part of the seam. And if we get our ruler, this particular one would have measured 1.5 centimeters. That's the distance of how big it would be. So we know we need to make sure the visible part is 1.5 centimeters. It's also got what's called a turn and turn, and this is to turn the raw edging. So the jeans would have been like this. They would have turned the raw edging, then they would have folded it in again, and they would have top stitched on the inside, and that's the turn and turn principle. So the visible part we talked about is 1.5 centimeters, and then we have another invisible part to hide the raw edge, which is also 1.5 centimeters. So in total, for this pair of jeans, we would need 3 centimeters extra to account for the turn and turn. So that's the finished part of the jeans. But this particular pair have got 3 centimeters added. So we're back to our normal pair of jeans, the pair that we're going to take up together. You can see that on this one we talked about it's got the stitching on the front, and then what they've done on the back, because it's done at the factory, the factory would have created a chain stitch. So the machine has a straight stitch on one side and a chain stitch on the back, and we're going to make ours 1.5, and then we're going to turn the raw edge in, so it would be 1.5 again. So in total we're going to make the width of the seam here 3 centimeters, so that it looks like our sample here, so that it looks like this one. So what I'm going to do is measure 3 centimeters and make a mark all the way along using my metal ruler. So you should be able to just see my marks there. So this is where we're up to at the moment. We've removed the old turn up, and we've got this nice new seam. So we need to fold this edge back. We've got to measure 1.5 centimeters and fold the raw edge back, so that we can create this nice new seam allowance for us to sew. So I'm ready to start sewing. I've got my machine all threaded and ready. I'm using the Atelier 7 machine. Some of you would have seen this one in class. You can use the magnetic seam guide, And what I do is I place it, I use the edge of the foot to help me line up with the seam guide, or you would move it out depending on the width of the seam. You can also use a little bit of tape as well. So the nice thing is, because we have already pressed where the seam allowance is, we're just going to use our machine to follow it. So I'm positioning my work under. I like to sew inside the circle. This is what we call it, sewing in the circle. I'm going to move the position of the needle. Just going to go in close so you can see that. You can see my needle is moving now. And I'm just turning the hand wheel to check where it's going to start sewing in relation. So let's move in close so we can see that there. So I know it's going to be fine there. I'm going to zoom out. Where I've started sewing is at the back of the jeans. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to back stitch. And there we have it. Let's do the other one. So if this video was useful, leave a comment below. It'd be nice to hear what trousers you've been taking up lately. As always, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. It really helps the algorithm to get things out there so that somebody else gets to make use of this tutorial as you have today. Thanks and bye for now.